Black Guardian. Don't you fear it?
There you are. Ready? Tree. Oh, yeah, sure. The people down here call it the Weeping Tree. They believe that the Black Guardian, once a year, fulfills one of the wishes they write onto these notes. Superstitious nonsense, of course. They might as well send their wishes to the Blue Island Coalition. Either way, ready to set out? What do you think? Because we don't want to draw any attention. If somebody sees me walking around with you, it won't be the end of the world, but I don't want to cause unnecessary problems. First, a question. Have you ever heard of the Night of the Blind Daughters? A massacre that took place 20 years ago. It was at the Farmer's Coast, around midsummer. The farmers had just put out the lights after a long day's work. Suddenly, shrouded figures showed up out of nowhere, with steel masks covering their faces. They broke into the houses and killed anybody who dared to stand in their way. While they merely wreaked havoc on most of the farms, any family with a daughter between 12 and 16 winters was less lucky. All in all, these masked people took 10 daughters that night and carried them away. They were found 1 week later. They lay on the Penny Road, mutilated with their eyes sewn shut. 1 girl each mile. They tried, but the few farm boys who were there in time stood no chance. These masked attackers were assassins, as deadly as the petrified and as brutal as lost ones. To this very day, no one knows. However, there are theories. Do the names the Black Libra and J.L. Tannison ring a bell? The Butcher of Ark? Yes. Thing is, in this book he left behind, Tannison claims to have been part of a cult called the Black Libra. Even nowadays there are still scholars that deny its existence. But according to Tannison, they see themselves as some kind of counterbalancing power. They make sure that malice and sin, they don't gain the upper hand in this world, and that the scales of good and evil thus stay in balance. Well, this is where it gets bizarre. Normally, the Libra only kills people who have already sinned. Tyrants, rapists, murderers, and so on. Which is also why the attack on the Farmer's Coast didn't make any sense, and still doesn't for most people today. However, the father has a theory. Well, he does have an avid interest in them. Let's put it this way. He has dug up every little bit of information that there is. But we'll come to that later. According to the father, the Black Libra chooses their sinners through the dreams of some kind of holy child. The dreams are interpreted by the Libra's priests who extract the names and faces of evildoers from them. However, the child doesn't just see people who have already sinned. She also sees evil in its inception. Thus, the Libra might decide to kill a boy before he becomes a tyrant, or a girl before she gives birth to a murderer. I know, it sounds insane, but that's what it is. But apparently the Libra fully believes in this principle. The child is omniscient. Yes. Simple. The father believes that the Black Libra knows the secret to transcendence. This is why he's been studying Tannisson's books like a madman. Especially one in particular, in which he describes the initiation ritual he underwent to become one of their assassins. And I also think that this temple in the Frostcliff Mountains is somehow related to the Libra. Long story short, apparently the pages of Tannisson's original manuscript describing the initiation ritual in detail were forcefully torn out, and the father wants to find them. Right. And I happen to know the only person who might be able to tell us their whereabouts. A man named Kaalian. Correct. He was also an assassin of the Libra, and Tannisson's mentor. In other words, an unscrupulous piece of shit that did nothing but murder people for decades, guilty, the innocent alike. According to the father, he was also the one who orchestrated the Night of the Blind Daughters. However, that massacre seems to have been too much even for his rotten conscience to bear, because he left the Libra shortly thereafter. He took on a new identity. He's been living as a beggar in the Undercity ever since. I saw him once. It's no wonder that nobody knows what kind of monster he is. He's gone completely insane. Drinks away every penny he gets his hands on. Exactly. If we bring them to the First Seer and I tell him how I couldn't have done it without you, he might consider hiring you for the expedition. That's the plan. Not the best one, certainly, but, all we're getting. Then we'll need to improvise. Let's just hope it doesn't come to that. He currently lives in the communes. That is, if he isn't in some horse bed in the Silver Cloud right now or getting hammered in the False Dark. I'll let you do the talking. It's unlikely that the First Seer will find out, but the more you actually help me on this mission, the more convincing our little story will be. And one more thing. Don't go easy on that scum. He might seem harmless now, but remember what he's done. And remember that those 10 mutilated girls on the Penny Road are just one more page in this man's book of sins.
Some people just don't know their path.
Hey! You're an adventurer, aren't you? Have you been to... Oh, how do they say it? Well,
My sir.
What? What do you want? To conquer me? Just
A real pretty thing you are. We should spend some time together.
Bloody rats. Eating the last penny right out your pocket.
Well, look at that. Our friend has a visitor. Get out of here.
what?
I said, get out of here. We need 10 minutes. Afterwards, you can fuck as many men as you want.
Of course, my lord. At once.
Interesting. Yes. Never mind. Look at him. Pissed like a rat. A miracle he could even get it up. I sure as fuck don't want you to cuddle with him. And again, never forget what this man did. He may look pathetic, but that doesn't change the fact that he orchestrated the murder of 10 girls. Innocent girls.
Yeah, who are you? Nylok is tired. Nylok needs sleep. Kalian? No, no, no. Kalian is dead. You're talking to Nalok, his shadow. Why do you ask? Who are you? Oh, of course. Nalok understands. You remind him of Kalian when he still lived. So much anger in you, so much hatred. Kalian knew this feeling too well. This anger, this cold, rotten wrath. And then the dream came and showed him his calling. But he was so blind, he didn't see where the road led him. Only when those little flowers' corpses lay dead in the dust did he see what he had done, what he had become. Now Kalian has been punished. He's dead, and Nalok deserves to suffer for eternity. How much? He doesn't remember. He always drinks when he has the coin for it. He sniffs, and sometimes, when the people are generous, he buys himself a night with Anna. They're the deeds of a coward, and he knows it. But the brandy, the dust, and Anna, they help him forget, help him ease the pain. Regret. No, Kalian had regrets, yes, but Nalok isn't worthy of these feelings anymore. Regret is a pure feeling, as is absolution, but Nalok doesn't deserve purity. So he hates himself, hates his pathetic existence, hates himself for all the suffering his old skin brought upon the world. I told you! Because Nylok buried his old skin. The Libra doesn't care about Nylok. Why should they? He's vermin. Why? Because the decrees demanded it. And the decrees don't lie. They never did, and they never will. Aren't you listening? The decrees don't lie. Those little flowers had to die, because if they had not, something terrible would have happened. Kalian knew, Nylok still knows, but still, it broke him. All their pain, their tears, their suffering, their screams. It was too much to bear, even for him. The decrees never lie. Pages, Nalok doesn't know what you mean. Now please, go. Nalok is tired and needs to sleep.
All right. Let me rephrase my friend's words. You stop playing confused oracle and fucking tell us what we want to know now. And then maybe, just maybe, we'll let you live. Are we clear?
But Nalok just...
Are we clear?
Yes, sir. Nalok understands. Please forgive him. So, the pages. Yes, of course, the pages. Nalok remembers. Kalian tore them from Tannerson's book before the world could see them. No! I told you! So why are you not listening? Kalian is dead! Don't you understand? He's dead, and Nylok buried him! Oh, no, he's sorry. Please don't hurt him. He will not raise his voice again.
Look at him. He's gone completely insane. I'm guessing all this Nalak talk is a way for his brain to cope with the guilt. He's created a new persona without all the blood on his hands. That is, unless he's lying.
What? Why? Why should Nylok lie? What? Why? Why should Nylok lie? How long? Years? Decades? He doesn't know. Kalian had a sense of time. Nalok doesn't. Yes, of course. But tell me, what do you want with them? You won't be able to read them. Because they're written in the language of the Libra. Even Kalian couldn't read a single word of them. Isn't it obvious? Because something else guided Tannerson's hand when he wrote them. Nalok Doesn't have a choice, does he? All right, he will do as you demand. The pages, he buried them together with his old skin. He can show you the pages. But tell him, my sir, if he shows you the pages, could you... Well, Naylock is hungry, Naylock is thirsty, and he has no more coin. But... Good. Naylock understands. And maybe you're right. You treat him like what he is. Vermin. Human waste. Come, follow. My sir, Naylock has a question.
What?
Your face. You seem familiar. Are you certain that you have never met Naylock before?
How would I know? Maybe.
A real pretty thing you are.
This is the way to the tar pit. Are you sure that's where we're supposed to be going? I warn you, if this is a trap...
It's not, my sir. Naylock is vermin, but he knows when he has to obey. You can trust him.
I won't. But fine.
Damn the order. Damn you all.
Ahoy.
Hold it right there, old man. Where do you think you're going? You're a little too old for digging.
He belongs to us. We're acting under the Father's orders.
Brother, wrath, from ashes to blood, from blood to liberation. I didn't recognize you. Forgive me.
From ashes to blood, from blood to liberation. Let us through.
Of course. Father's blessings.
Father's blessings. Keep going, scum.
Yes, of course. Yes, we're here. This is where he buried the pages.
The deserted tunnels. We should be wary. There are a lot of lowlifes down here. Look out! Let's go.
There. That's where he buried his old skin. Please, my sir. You need to just take these last few steps alone. Naylock can't. He just can't.
Is this a trap?
What? No, of course not. It's just... Naylock can't. Don't you understand? To see him after all this time? No. Kill Naylock if you don't believe him, but he will stay.
Fine. You go on ahead.
Look for the
What?
skeleton. You need to dig.
Why? Fine. I can give you the essentials, but beyond that, I can't be bothered. Ask. This and that. Most of the time I'm busy reminding the residents of the Undercity to pay their shadow tax, and to make them feel the consequences if they don't. Anything from a clout to the ear to a knife between the ribs. Alright, two things. First of all, I've killed no more than a handful of people for the Relata, and they weren't poor women with babes sucking at their teats, but scum, who knew the rules and thought they could play rebel. Believe me, it takes a lot for the Relata to order the death sentence for someone. They are criminals, yes, and they are led by a monster, but they are not stupid. If every misdemeanor were to be punished by decapitation, it wouldn't be long until there'd be a revolt in the Undercity. Secondly, nothing in life comes for free. If you think you can achieve something of relevance without compromising a part of yourself, then you're a fool. The death of the father could be worth 100 dead cutthroats, and I'd put arrows into each of their chests if it would get me any closer to my goal. You can trust me on one thing, though. Killing these people, it didn't come easy. And some of the things that I did to not lose my cover will haunt me to the grave. But you know what? Sad as it is, the world needs people like me. All these do-gooders who think they could fight evil without getting their hands dirty are self-righteous idiots. The monsters of this world, the murderers, the tyrants. You need to speak their language if you want to be a threat to them. Everything else is a delusion. Since the father founded it, 400 years ago. Correct. Nobody knows, but I would guess it had something to do with his experiments. All those children's corpses must have been good for something, don't you think? It is. Why? Well, actually, it's simple. Everybody who lives down here and earns money has to give a part of that to the Relata every month and get protection in return. This applies to everybody, from beggar to crime lord. That's an exception. You mean when it comes to killing cocky bandits and vattires? Quite powerful. I don't think you find more skilled sinistropes or assassins anywhere else. Of course, in a fair duel with a keeper, most voices would probably end up in the dirt. But that's not how people fight down here. On the contrary, the Order is quite happy with the way things are going down here. They take care on the shiny surface, and the Relata take care of the stinking caves below. That's a bloody stupid question. Okay, let's assume for a moment that we don't intervene and kill the father on the expedition. There are 3 possible scenarios to how this visit to the room of paintings would go down. Number 1. It goes wrong and he and whoever follows him inside all die, This is the only case where you're right. Number 2. He succeeds, and actually manages to separate his mind from his body. Then we'd have a spectral murderer floating through the world possessing powers we can't even begin to imagine. Number 3. The temple turns out to be a dead end and he returns to the Undercity. Then we might have missed the only chance to even get close enough to kill him. You get my point? It's too much of a risk to sit on our hands and hope scenario number 1 happens. Why? I can give you the essentials, but beyond that, above all else, to leave your old life behind you. All contact is buried, all bridges burned. Most Wilame call themselves orphans even if they once had a family. In other words, if you conscribe yourself to the Relata, the Relas and its teachings are your new life, and the Relame your new family. Everything you do, everything you think, everything you dream, is subject to the goal of achieving transcendence. Liberation from the human body. Why? I can give you the essentials, but beyond that, I can't be bought. This and that. Anything from a cloud to the ear. Believe me, it takes a... Secondly, the death of the father could be worth 100 dead cutthroats, and I'd put arrows into each of them. You can trust... Sad... The monsters of this world. The murderers. The time... Don't shout! Skeleton. I'm not seeing anything. Let's look around. Let me see. Yeah. Well, that looks promising. Then I guess we need to dig. Come help me. Here we go. This must be it. Pretty big. What the blazes did he put in there? What's that smell? What the? Oh, shit! You mean this body is... Nonsense. You want to know what I think? This is probably some poor sod that crossed this lunatic's path at the wrong time. So we put him right into the crate with the pages. Bloody son of a whore. Oh, fuck if I know. We're talking about a man who murdered 10 girls in cold blood because his cult ordered him to do it. I think you'd be well advised to stop trying to apply logic to his thinking. Right you are. Come on, you take them. Got them? All right. Back to Carlian. Get up, scum.
My sir. You found what you were looking for, didn't you? You can tell by your eyes.
We found the pages and something else. Whose corpse is in that chest?
What? But he told you, didn't he? It's Kalian. Nalok buried him. Yes. He said it before, didn't he? Kalian couldn't continue to live in this shell after what he did, so he shed it and gave birth to Nalok. And Nalok buried him, together with the memories. You don't believe him. You think Nalok is lying. But it's the truth, the simple truth. You two, more than anyone else, should understand.
Sure. Either way, we have what we wanted. And now it's time for you to pay for your crimes, Carlian. It's been long overdue.
What? But you said that you would spare him if he'd show you the pages.
We said that we would think about it. And guess what? I did. You're a murderer, Carlian. And you've killed more people than I can count. Men, women, and children. And you know what? This whole act about how remorseful you are. I'm not buying it. Yes, you drank your bloody brains into oblivion, but ultimately, the only one you truly pity is yourself. Yes. Any last words?
Letho.
What?
Nalok remembers. By the name of the sun, you were in the refuge orphanage, you and your friend, Letho.
What do you know about the refuge?
Back then, before the flesh maggot plague, when Nalok was still strong, the Kyranian woman who ran the orphanage gave him work. Don't you remember? He carried crates, he cleaned the floor, he cooked.
That was you? Uncle Nalak?
Yes, that's what you called him, Uncle Nalok. By the Guardians, it's been so long, but he remembers it all now. You and your friend, you were inseparable. Until...
You're right. I do remember.
What?
You were there when they took us. Worse, you helped them. What did she pay you, that old cunt? Huh? Carrying crates? Selling children to the Rolada? All the same, isn't it?
No, what? Nalok doesn't understand. He only...
Let's go. Yeah. His face seemed familiar, but I just couldn't place him. Yeah. We called him Uncle Nalak. Shagun, the matron, gave him work as a gopher. He wasn't as much of a wreck back then. Can you believe it? A former serial killer working in an orphanage. Apparently the old cunt liked to surround herself with people as rotten as she was. It doesn't matter. I know it. He'd been there the night it happened. One of us, Wilma, she refused to go. She screamed and kicked, but Nalak held her while one of the father's voices gave her a sleeping potion. That fucking piece of shit. Well, as I said, we're done here. Next we need to bring the pages to the first seer, which will, hopefully, encourage him to consider you as a mercenary for the expedition. But we'll see. Before we do that, though, we need to discuss a couple of things. We cannot afford a single mistake if we want this to work. Meet me in my hideout tomorrow morning, alright? It's a small abandoned warehouse in the main cabin, right before the path up to the city. There's an old poster of the theater right next to the door. That's how you recognize it. The dark corners of our minds. Because the risk's a lot higher that somebody will see us. Until then. And, good work. Get up, scum.
My sir. You found what you were looking for, didn't you? He could tell by your eyes.
We found the pages and something else. Whose corpse is in that chest?
What? But he told you, didn't he? It's Kalian. Nalok buried him. Joke? Why would it be? He said it before, didn't he? Kalian couldn't continue to live in this shell after what he did, so he shed it and gave birth to Nalok. And Nalok buried him, together with the memories. You don't believe him, do you? You believe Nalok is lying. But it's the truth, the simple truth. You two, more than anyone else, should understand.
Sure. Either way, we have what we wanted. And now it's time for you to pay for your crimes, Kalian. It's been long overdue.
What? But you said that you'd spare him if he'd show you the pages!
We said that we would think about it. And guess what? I did. You're a murderer, Kalian. And you've killed more people than I can count. Men, women, and children. And you know what? This whole act about how remorseful you are, I'm not buying it. Yes, you drank your bloody brains into oblivion, but ultimately, the only one you truly pity is yourself. It's not. But fine. As you wish. You heard it, scum. Today's your lucky day. You...
Letho.
What?
Naylock remembers. By the name of the sun, you were in the refuge orphanage, you and your friend, Letho.
What do you know about the refuge?
Back then, before the flesh maggot plague, when Naylock was still strong, the Kyranian woman who ran the orphanage gave him work. Don't you remember? He carried crates, he cleaned the floor, he cooked.
That was you? Uncle Naylock?
Yes, that's what you called him, Uncle Naylock. By the Guardians, it's been so long, but he remembers it all now. You and your friend, you were inseparable. Until...
You're right. I do remember.
What?
You were there when they took us. Worse, you helped them. What did she pay you, that old cunt? Huh? Carrying crates? Selling children to the Rolada? All the same, isn't it?
No, what? Naylock doesn't understand. He only...
Let's go. I did. But that was before I knew the whole truth. Yeah. His face seemed familiar, but I just couldn't place him. Yeah. We called him Uncle Naylock. Shagun, the matron, gave him work as a gopher. It wasn't as much of a wreck back then. Can you believe it? A former serial killer working in an orphanage. Apparently the old cunt liked to surround herself with people as rotten as she was. It doesn't matter. I know it. He'd been there the night it happened. One of us, Wilma, she refused to go. She screamed and kicked, but Naylock held her while one of the father's voices gave her a sleeping potion. That fucking piece of shit. Well, as I said, we're done here. Next we need to bring the pages to the first seer, which will, hopefully, encourage him to consider you as a mercenary for the expedition. But we'll see. Before we do that, though, we need to discuss a couple of things. We cannot afford a single mistake if we want this to work. Meet me in my hideout tomorrow morning, alright? It's a small abandoned warehouse in the main cabin, right before the path up to the city. There's an old poster of the theater right next to the door. That's how you recognize it. The dark corners of our minds. Because the risk's a lot higher that somebody will see us. Until then. And, good work.